Hi and welcome to the Leaderonomics Show. Our guest with us today is Datuk Husni Salleh. He is the Chief Executive Officer of TERAJU, which is the Malaysian government's Bumiputera Agenda Steering Unit. Now, Roshan sits with Datuk Husni to find out more about his career in investment, the importance of innovation, and why daring to be different is so crucial. Let's cut to the interview to find out what he has to say.
Welcome to the Leaderonomics Show. I'm with Datuk Husni Salleh, CEO of TERAJU. Datuk Husni, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about TERAJU. What's TERAJU and what's your purpose and aim?
TERAJU basically is a unit that was set up under the Prime Minister Department, and I started this sometime three and a half years back in early 2011. When I was asked by the Prime Minister to set up this unit and to support the economic transformation and to make sure that Bumiputera economy is accelerated and to be in line with the economic transformation that we have today.
So you set up TERAJU, and what were some of your challenges as you set this up? I'm sure you faced quite a bit.
Well, to begin, I was running MAVCAP, Malaysia Venture Capital Management Berhad, as a CEO, and up until 2010, yeah? And I got a call from the Prime Minister office, basically to come up and see him and to explore a few things. So basically, and then it was Tan Sri Noor Muhammad Yaakob who called me up and asked him to have a lunch meeting with him, and he came up with this idea to set up a secretariat for the purpose of accelerating the Bumiputera economic development. And at the time, I didn't really know much about what was actually going on and what was expected. But then he told me that the best thing is that for you to see the Prime Minister himself and for him to explain to you what is expected of you. And he said, when can you come? And he suggested that why don't you come at the early part of the morning before the last cabinet meeting of the year, 2010. And I showed up that morning, and I went to his office, and then Tan Sri Noor was there, and he told me that you wait here for a while, for 5 minutes. If the Prime Minister wants to see you, and you get to see him, otherwise you can go home. So and then I said,
so did you get to meet him?
Yeah, I got to meet him. After 5 minutes, he was in there. He came up and said, "Husni, can you come in?"
Yep.
Then it was the first time I met the Prime Minister in a close manner in his office, and he told me that I was selected to lead and head this unit. And at the time, there was no name. TERAJU wasn't there, and it was just a secretariat that was. Then and he asked me that regard to my background and all that, and I told him that I've done quite a bit of thing in investment. In fact, all my career life basically is
you in Nomura,
in Nomura, in NatWest, and Walden, and MAVCAP is all about investment.
Yep.
I've been investing either government money, private money, or other people's money. So
this would be a transition from
it is a transition.
Investment
it was
to
a
developing role. Huh?
True, and I didn't really know much on what to do and all this thing. And I came out after the meeting, and I was a bit overwhelmed. And the last thing, and the last phrase and words that Prime Minister said, "You got about 9 months to prove yourself." Okay. So I said, good. So I came up from the meeting room and I asked Tan Sri Noor, and can I see you after this? He said, no, you go ahead and I'll come back and see you next year. And by the way, thank you for meeting my KPI for this year. That's what he told me. So I said, and I go back and I told my wife.
So what are some of the challenges that you had to overcome in terms of the first 9 months and some of your success stories?
Well, the mandate is a bit wide.
Wide, yeah. It is sort of broad.
It's broad, and at the time I didn't have a team, and
so you had to literally build a team.
Yeah, basically starting up, just like you start up a company.
Sure.
You wanted to make sure that you make an impact in the shortest period of time. I didn't know how much budget I was getting at the time. I didn't have an office. I still had to run my MAFCAP for a couple of months.
You were still doing
I was still doing both.
over.
So pretty much we incubated TERAJU within MAFCAP at the time for about 6 months.
Okay.
I had to borrow money from MAFCAP and to set up this thing under the guarantee from the government. And we were, bootstrapping for about 6 months in one small room in MAFCAP office. And I think I brought in about 10 people, crammed them all in one room. And until we got a proper budget, I got the first few people that I brought in didn't even know how much they were getting. I didn't know how much I was getting. I know how much I was getting from MAFCAP at the time, but I didn't know how much I was getting in terms of terms and payments and everything that were not clear.
Yep.
But we had a short period of time, but within the 1.5 months after my meeting with the Prime Minister, we had to launch this as a unit, and it was launched in a big way.
Okay, that's great.
And it was the first time I was named the CEO of this. I think we took about 2 weeks to name TERAJU itself.
Okay. And now you've about 4 years have 3.5, 4 years have gone by, right?
Yeah, about 4 years and 3 months now.
Okay. All right. Hold that thought. We'll be right back in the next segment. We are here on the Leaderonomics Show. Welcome back to the Leaderonomics Show. I'm here with Datuk Husni Salleh, CEO of TERAJU. Datuk Husni, we were just talking about TERAJU and how you had this mammoth challenge of having to set it up in such a quick way and get it up and running. So now, being 3.5 years or so as CEO, what would be some proud moments that you can look back and say, yes, we've accomplished some great milestones in the last couple of years? What would some of those milestones be?
Well, in the beginning, basically we wanted to make this as a game changer to all the initiative that's been done by the government for Bumiputera. And I had to set the target very high. At the time I went around and talked to a lot of people and said to move 1 percentage point of Bumiputera economy in terms of equity, we require something like 40 billion ringgit. That is the reality.
Yeah.
So that got on to a lot of people, and basically that we must strive to do even beyond the 1% and 2% because we have a big target to achieve. And proudly to say that at the end of last year, we're saying that we have created something like 46.5 billion ringgit in terms of the market opportunity.
Wow.
Funds, and also a lot of collaborations that we do with other people, private sector, public sector, together.
Congratulations.
So that is actually the so-called proud moment that I have. But there's a lot more to go. I mean, we have a lot of things going at the moment. We have a lot more programs to do, and I believe that with the the collaborations that we have with the many parties, we can actually achieve even bigger than that.
So let's talk a little bit about MAFCAP. You were CEO there for a couple of years, and tell us, how did you end up in the whole investment banking space, and ultimately how did you become CEO of MAFCAP? I mean, what's your secret to your success?
Well, since I was young, I wanted to be an investor. I read a lot about a lot of
Warren Buffett
and stuff like that, and the books that how KKR built up Nabisco, RGR, and everything like that. That excite me in terms of Then when I went to university, basically I took up a finance course with the specialization in finance, corporate finance, and also investments. And after that, I came back and I got a job at a brokerage firm, BBMB Securities back then.
Okay.
I was hired as an analyst, and I was the youngest then. I think at the age of 23 at the time.
Wow.
All my colleagues were like 40 plus and all that. So I was a baby there, and I learned a lot from them. And it's easy to to mix around with these people because they have more experience. And at the same time, they were trying to learn something new too. Fresh from the school, basically, I came up and things are quite fresh in my mind about how do you do modeling, how do you do the what they call this evaluation and stuff like that. And at the time, I remember the warrants, TSRs, and all that was actually new in Malaysian market.
Sure.
And I took that opportunity and I wrote, a lot of evaluation. How do you how do you basically look at the warrants, how do you evaluate that against
So you're a very
stock.
curious person.
Yes, I did.
Always
And
wanting to learn.
Yes, then I wrote a lot of papers on that, and finally it got picked up by the Business Times at the time, and they published quite a number of my reports there. Okay. And until I got a call from Nomura, and after a while,
So you were an analyst there also?
Yeah, I was an analyst there, and then Nomura called me and said they can,
So was that a cultural change moving from a local company
to an international brokerage firm? Yes, it's a very big change because it was a small outfit that we had here in Malaysia, and we were only about 12 people versus 100 over people that I had in BBMB Securities, and we had to do a lot of research, and we communicate all this investment recommendations to all the Nomura offices globally. Sure. So I had, in the morning I spoke to Hong Kong, Singapore and all that, and then in the afternoon we spoke to the UK investors, and after the night.
You still got conference calls at night.
That's right, that's right. So we were working very hard, trying to furnish all the information. At the time there was no internet, nothing. They rely a lot on analysts.
And Excel sheets.
The Excel sheets and everything. So I think that was the beginning. And then at the time during the early part of the 90s, before the financial crisis, the investment banking was quite, thriving quite well here in Asia. A lot of foreign brokers and came and set up offices here. So we were, a very precious commodity, I would say. So we got picked up from one firm to another. So later, NatWest Markets came into the Malaysian market as well, and they called me in to be part of the pioneer teams in NatWest Market.
And then you moved to MAVCAP. First, you moved to CEO?
Not really.
Not really.
We had the financial crisis in 1997.
Yes.
And during that time, I think I would say more than 50% of the international firms, reps office in Malaysia, Singapore, and all that, they've closed down their offices here. So I was one of the casualties.
So how did you take that setback?
Well, the funny thing is that about 2 months before the crisis, I was called to do a roadshow in the US, Europe, and all that. So I was on the road for about a month plus, selling Malaysian stocks. Right? And at the time, didn't know that the Thai is going to be devalued and affecting all the currencies. And I brought in a couple of $100 million investment into Malaysian market at the time, investing in some Malaysian stocks. And finally, I got we got to know all these things happen, and the share prices up in the tank at the time. So we had to answer to all the investors. The investors at the time. It was a very tough call, and you finally closed down about 7 months after that. So I started to learn about entrepreneurship, about investing in startups.
So it's been a process of learning at every single job.
Every single job.
Fantastic.
Has been
different learning that you get that ultimately resulted in your success in TERAJU, or your
the
continued success in TERAJU.
You got to challenge yourself every time, and what I did is to challenge myself and make a change and make sure that you
always growing.
Yeah, you grow with the job, and you make sure that people notice you.
Yep. So speaking about challenges, we're going to come back right after this with the Thinkonomics challenge that you'll be undergoing. So we'll be right back here on the Leaderonomics Show with the Thinkonomics challenge.
Top 10 reasons why talents leave companies. Praise.
Cut. This Top 10 ways to stand out at work.
What a difficult customer.
It's difficult when you just
But
join
then
a new
again,
company.
customers are always right.
Angry or frustrated, your boss can be a bad idea.
Welcome back to the Leaderonomics Show. It's the Thinkonomics Challenge. I'm here with Datuk Husni Salleh from TERAJU. Here's the challenge. We're going to play a little game called Thinkonomics, and it's a very simple game. You get 2 dice, so you get to pick which do you like, red or blue.
I'll pick the blue.
All right,
Right.
good man.
Sure.
Just throw the dice and
Roll the
we'll
dice.
pick a category.
Okay.
Growth. All
Right.
right. Yeah, there we are. So, if you could have something implanted in your mind, what would it be and why? 30 seconds. There you go.
Well, I believe that there's a purpose that we're all here, you know, and the purpose is to make the world better, to, you know, basically make sure that the future generations taken care of, to make sure that we eradicate poverty altogether, because nobody wants to be poor people, yeah, and they don't choose to be poor. And I believe that there's always a way that the rich people could help the poorer people better, in a more organized manner. And I believe that we should strive to be, you know, be more sincere in what we do, without having any hidden agenda, and to grow the economy together. I think this is
good thoughts.
Yeah.
Fabulous thoughts. Okay, great. 30 seconds.
Right,
Here you go. One more. Let's do one more. Or
Okay,
2 more.
let's do that. All right.
Building
Future.
the future. All right. It's building the future. And if there is one thing you can do for Mother Earth, what would it be? Well, you're getting very idealistic questions.
Well, I think look at it this way. The renewable energy needs to be what they call research, and need to be applied in all the things that we do, so that we are less dependent on the resources that are not depleting resources. I think for the future, our kids need to be more educated regard to how to make sure that we save and
Absolutely, and recycle.
Recycle and all that.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Last one. Let's do one more.
Wow, this is hard.
This hard? Okay. Giving. This would be good. It's my favorite category, actually. Yep, giving. Okay. Do you think it's all right to always give but not receive anything in return?
If we have the capacity to give, and if you don't expect anything back, basically, and you feel a lot better. You know, if you do give and you expect something back, and if you don't get it, and you know, you feel bad. I mean, basically, you're not sincere in what you're giving. Basically, to give a little bit of analogy, recently we set up Yayasan Peneraju Pendidikan Bumiputera. It's a new foundation to help out the poor, and basically, I went around and collected 158 million ringgit in about 1 month, and then we gave back by funding the new kids in the what they call this in the challenging environment, and to give them second chance, basically. And you know, we did that, but I got nothing to feel about, because this is an ongoing process that we need to do.
And giving makes you better, actually.
I feel that after setting up the Yayasan and they've been funding more than 4,000 students today, and I've still sit on the board, and I feel proud.
Yeah, fabulous.
So I don't.
You're speaking about TERAJU. You know, I know there's always been some criticism from different quarters, and some, you know, to you, to the organization, and sometimes to the Prime Minister, which may sometimes be unfair. But how do you deal with this criticism, and how do you, you know, overcome some of these setbacks and challenges that may come your way? And maybe if you want to talk a little bit about some of these issues.
Well, there's always people who like to criticize everything that you do. And basically, We take constructive criticism, but those who have got agenda and anything they would like to say which is not within what you think you can do, then I believe that we just can listen to them. But what most important is that we listen to them and we do what is right. Basically, in terms of how do we transform the economy and the certain rules and discipline that we have to follow, regardless of who you are, regardless of which quarter you come from, basically. And I remember during the early part of TERAJU, the moment they know that this young punk is leading TERAJU, and everybody came over, including all the Tan Sris, the Tones and all that, and wanted to size me up and say, what do you guys mean? What does this guy know about Bumiputera economy and stuff like that? And I took some time to listen to them, and of course, I didn't have any legacy behind me. I absorbed as much as I could, and in the end of the day, people say this, you got to make a call because you are put there to make a call what's right. Yeah.
So if you were to give advice to a CEO, say you're having breakfast with the CEO, what advice or wisdom would you impart to the CEO?
Well, I must say that sometimes we need to look beyond the 3 years, the 5 years.
So really take a long-term view of things.
We have to take a long-term view. We have to have a vision on how things could evolve and basically work towards that. Sometimes we are lacking. We are just firefighting every day, chasing bottom lines.
Yep.
Forgetting that you're impacting a lot of people.
Absolutely. I think that's a very fair comment, because I think we tend to like to be in the now and today, and sometimes we forget about the energy that we get from articulating a vision.
That's right.
So, another question, final question, if there was a young graduate who's watching this show, just graduating out of university, and they're thinking, I want to be CEO of TERAJU one day. I want to lead. I want to drive change. I want to do good stuff. I want to give. I want to become like you, essentially. What sort of advice would you give this young person that's coming out of university?
Well, nothing beats hard work. I must say that we have to work very, very hard in all the things that we do, in acquiring knowledge and trying to basically convince people of a new idea. We got to be innovative. We must not conform to the whatever is normal things that people do. So we must break out from the normal things, and we must make sure that we listen and we don't be arrogant. Okay. I think no matter how smart we are, sometimes we have a little bit of this chip on the shoulder, and we got to make a lot of friends. And I grew up because of my friends, because I live in a boarding school. Now all my peers, and they're all the CEOs of companies and all that, and we're helping out each other.
It's a great network to have.
Right,
actually.
that's true.
That's fantastic, And thank you so much for being here on the show. We've been speaking to Datuk Husni Salleh, CEO of TERAJU, here on the Leaderonomics Show.